Hello everybody. So this video is entitled Stretch Stuns the World, $1 billion in a single day. That is the title of this video. And this is really showing some serious signal to the market. You know, I always go back on some thoughts a few weeks ago, people saying, well, Stretch could actually become a bigger asset than MSTR itself. Could this be what we have in the cards at some point in the future, when you see the absolutely insane success that Stretch is having? It's a success story like no other, make no mistake. That's the biggest story in finance and in credit in decades. How can you sell $1 billion worth of a credit instrument in a single day? And yes, I'm fully aware Stretch.live only shows 750 million, but Stretch.live A is still ATMing as I record this. We have about 2 hours left, depending on how you watch, maybe less, but about 2 hours left of, albeit a smaller ATM, but we're still ATMing Stretch in after hours. That's point number one. Point number two, Stretch.live has historically been off by, sometimes 50%, sometimes 30%. So if I'm conservative and I'm just say they're off by about 30%, roughly, I'm just doing a rough back of a napkin estimate, but to me, we're at $1 billion. To me, we're roughly at $1 billion today in a single day. Think about that, in a single day. What does that mean for the week? It means that in a single week, we would be at 21,000 Bitcoins in a single week. So not quite 2 billion, but pretty close to 2 billion. And I was expecting this day to be amazing. I was saying this day could be 5,000, 6,000. Turns out this day is likely going to be about 10,000. And you can see the ramp in the demand towards the ex-dividend date, which is tomorrow. So tomorrow, no ATM, but you can see that pretty epic ramp where we went from, 1,400 on Monday, and now we're at 9,500. Absolutely insane. Of course, strategy reacting pretty well today, but I don't think that strategy is trading based on the success of Stretch. To me, when I look at Stretch, it seems like Stretch is taking a life of its own, because strategy, we're trading roughly about 2x Bitcoin's performance today. So that tells me he may not have ATM. I don't really know at this point if he needs to still do the common ATM. Tends to be random. Strategy inflows and outflows tend to be a little random. We're doing better in the middle of the day. We gave us some towards the end of the day, but slightly outperforming Bitcoin today. Of course, if you go back 2 days ago, we didn't have from 2 days ago. We dropped a lot. We are minus 5%. Bitcoin was down 1%. What's important is over the long run, the beta of strategy versus Bitcoin should be about 1.5. It should move 1.5 for every one that BTC moves. Of course, the big story of the day is Sata. Believe it or not. Well, there's two big stories of the day. $1 billion for Stretch. $1 billion for Stretch. To me, that's the biggest story, but there's also a very big story for Sata moving to, of course, daily dividend. Saylor is always the bigger man. Saylor looks at this industry as everybody's friends and everybody's on the same team Bitcoin. I entirely agree with that statement, by the way, because Sata's success makes Saylor's success, because if Sata is successful and buys more Bitcoin, Bitcoin rises for everybody. And so Sata is helping. Anybody buying Bitcoin helps the network. Like, anybody buying Bitcoin is a friend of somebody who owns Bitcoin, period. And so Saylor, of course, being the bigger man right here, but I do think they must be wondering what is going on. Could they have done it? What did the legal counsel say at Strategy that the legal counsel at Strive did not say? And I've been thinking about this all day. Of course, my video earlier is the theory that Sata paying daily dividend makes sense. And of course, economically, rationally, logically, these are kind of synonyms, right? It makes all of the sense in the world to pay daily, because you remove the ex-dividend date, and so you remove the 15 days, 1 week, sometimes more than 2 weeks. You remove this time where you can't ATM because you trade below par. And so it makes all of the sense in the world, but if the market has taught us one thing, is that the market is entirely irrational, especially in the 2020s. The 2020s are the most irrational time ever for the market, as I cover on this channel repeatedly. And I wonder if this irrationality of the market creates some sort of euphoria, some sort of exuberance, right? Irrational exuberance, right before the ex-dividend date. Is the fact that we have a big ex-dividend date, so a big event tomorrow, right? A big binary event. You buy it before tomorrow, you get the dividend. You buy it tomorrow, you don't get the dividend right away. The fact that we have this binary event tomorrow, does it create some sort of euphoria and exuberance that leads to oversized flows of fund, which you may not get on Sata because there's going to be 23 of such ex-dividend dates in a month, right? Saylor's STRC only has one ex-dividend in a month. And even when you move to two ex-dividend in a month, you're still going to create an event where euphoria and exuberance can happen, which cannot happen if you have ex-dividend 23 times in a month, if you have an ex-dividend. And so I wonder if that played a role. I know, of course, that STRC is 80% retail investors. Are retail investors more prone to euphoria and exuberance than Wall Street and the AI bots and the bots? I think not. To be honest, on this channel, I think that the retail investors tend to be pretty smart as far as analyzing stocks. Yeah, there's a cohort of retail investors who may be degens, but in my audience, I see very few people talking about just holding the stock for a day, capturing that ex-dividend date, and then selling it. I see very few people do that. So I wonder what's going on. I'm glad Sata is going to test it out. I'm glad Sata is going to test it out for all of the issuers of digital credit. Thank you, Sata, for doing that. And there was a very wise comment in my video earlier talking about Saylor potentially being able to test that out with yet another instrument that would be a copy of Sata. Could Saylor do another instrument that's a copy of Sata that Saylor could call, for example, Stream? And then that would be a daily dividend instrument. And then he could look at the flows and look at where the flows are headed, etc. The problem, of course, is that Saylor has issued a lot of preferred already, and it's all about the position in the capital structure. My guess is that Saylor wishes he had a simple design as Sata and Strive. They have a very simple company. Saylor, because of history, as more complex and more simple instrument. But yeah, I really can't wait to see what the move of Saylor is going to be. And it seems like launching a stream could be a low-risk way to actually test that out. And maybe you could launch a stream with a higher yield. Maybe you could do that too, put it lower in the capital structure. Maybe you could do that too, kind of a stream for degen or an instrument for degen. I'm curious to see what Saylor's response is going to be, either through an 8K and a corporate action at strategy, or through podcasts. We know that Saylor, that's why you always got you always got to listen to the latest podcast of Saylor, because we do know he always drops nuggets. I can't wait to hear what he has to say about Sata's big day today. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.